When there is just too much sports, there's the G.O.A.T podcast BLEAT Report to cover it. Welcome to this week's BLEAT Report covering the CFB final between the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes. The atmosphere was electric in Miami as Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner, geared up to face the Hurricanes in his hometown against the team that refused to recruit him. He was going up against Carson Beck, and Miami had the ball to start the game, but quickly stalled. Omar Cooper Jr. made two really good catches in the opening drive for the Hoosiers, but Indiana's offense kept stalling as well. That changed on one drive when Indiana marched down the field, and on 3rd and 6, Fernando Mendoza chucked the ball into one-on-one coverage, and it was incomplete. The Hoosiers settled for a field goal, getting on the board first. Miami got the ball back and once again went 3-and-out. The teams traded punts back and forth until about 8 minutes left in the second quarter. During a long Indiana drive, Mendoza handed the ball off to his fullback, Riley Novodowski, who powered his way for a 1-yard touchdown to give the Hoosiers a 10-0 lead. Miami desperately needed a response. They faced a 4th and 1 just to pick up their second first down of the game, and they were almost at halftime. That tells you everything you need to know about Indiana's defense. Miami had to bring in 8 big bodies just to push the running back barely past the line to gain. Carson Beck finally found his rhythm, connecting with C.J. Daniels for a 17-yard completion to cross midfield for the first time. But once again, the drive stalled, setting up for a 50-yard field goal. The kick was missed, a doink off the right upright, giving Indiana excellent field position. With 3 seconds left, Mendoza launched a Hail Mary that fell incomplete, and the Hoosiers took a 10-0 lead into halftime. Carson Beck finally found some rhythm, connecting with C.J. Daniels for a 17-yard completion to cross midfield for the first time. But once again, the drive stalled, setting up for a 50-yard field goal. The kick was missed, a doink off the right upright, giving Indiana excellent field position with time running out. With 3 seconds left, Mendoza launched a Hail Mary that fell incomplete, and the Hoosiers had a 10-0 lead going into halftime. The Hurricanes came out of the break buzzing. Their defense forced a lightning-quick stop, giving Beck a chance to close the gap. A solid punt return set them up nicely, and on 2nd and 5 at the Miami 43, Beck handed it off to Mark Fletcher Jr., who took it 57 yards to the end zone untouched, bringing Miami right back into the game. The teams traded punts again, and within 5 minutes left in the quarter, Miami lined up to punt once more. And the kick was blocked. It ricocheted into the end zone where the Hoosiers recovered it for the touchdown. The crowd erupted, and the score was now 17-7 Indiana. Miami wasn't done. Sparked by strong runs from Fletcher and a wild play from Beck that resulted in a 20-yard completion to C.J. Daniels, the Hurricanes pushed past midfield. The drive continued down to the 2-yard line where Miami used some trickery, faking the end around and handing it off to who else but Mark Fletcher, who punched it in for the touchdown. Indiana responded with an incredible drive of their own, filled with jaw-dropping plays. On 4th and 5 at their own 40, Mendoza escaped pressure and fired a 20-yard dart to a covered tight end, who adjusted his body and hauled in the catch of the game. Later, on the 4th and 5 at the 10, Mendoza took off, spun out of a sack, fought through a defender, and launched himself into the end zone to make it 24-14. With the Hoosiers up 24-14, Miami found itself desperate, but Carson Beck wasn't ready to let the season end. He launched a deep shot to Keelan Martin, but that resulted in a miracle catch before falling incomplete. Beck regrouped, firing a strike across the middle to Malachi Tony, who weaved his way deep into Hoosier territory. On the very next play, they pitched it to Tony again, and he spun his way into the end zone, cutting the lead to 3 with 6:37 remaining. Indiana knew they needed a clinical drive to put this one away, and Mendoza delivered. He found Omar Cooper Jr. and Charlie Becker for crucial conversions, keeping the clock moving. Roman Hemby showed veteran poise, using a stiff arm to reach the edge and making sure to stay in bounds as the clock ticked towards 2 minutes. The Hoosiers executed a masterful 11-play drive that burned 4:50 off the clock and ended with a field goal, extending the lead to 27-21. Miami got the ball back and with no timeouts and the weight of the city on their shoulders. Despite the location, Indiana fans had traveled so well that Hard Rock Stadium felt like a road game for the Hurricanes. Beck caught a break with a roughing the passer penalty after an incompletion. He then found Marty Brown for another first down. But the Hoosier defense, which led the nation in turnover margin all year, was waiting for its moment. Under pressure with no one open, Beck heaved the ball downfield and underthrew it. Jamari Sharp, the Miami native from Northwestern High School, kept his zone eyes on the ball, tracked it perfectly, and hauled it in for a game-clinching interception. The celebration was on, from one of the losingest programs in history at the start of the year to the top of the mountain. A century of futility was over. The Indiana Hoosiers are national champions. And that's it for this week's BLEAT Report. Indiana finished the job, ended the debate, and took the title. Follow us on Instagram at the G.O.A.T Sports Podcast, and we'll see you next week.